pressured by Hutchinson. He goes down again.
All right, what's happening, Lions fans? I have no idea what just happened, but I was in live, I thought, with a whole bunch of people, and the stream just cut out. So I restarted, what was supposed to be the post-game show, which I thought I was in, but I think we had a dual stream key or something going on. My bad, more than likely. So anyway, I went into a whole diatribe, broke down the game, went through all the stats, did all that stuff. Man, my ear just won't stop buzzing. And it should be recorded, so maybe I'll turn it into a video. But look, I don't know what you guys heard. I don't know what you saw, but I'm just going to be very pointed with this. Tonight was about Dan Campbell. And I say that because when you look at the stats, a lot of people are going to blame Goff, and they're going to say that it was all Goff's fault, and Goff this and Goff that. That Goff was part of the problem. Yes, he did not have a great game. He didn't even have a good game. But Goff also can't do anything about the play calling and the protections that are being called. And not only that, he can't do anything about the offensive line not doing their freaking job. Because that's what happened tonight. I don't know if Tate Ratledge was injured the entire game, because that might have been one of the worst games I've ever seen by a guard in a Lions uniform. A starting guard. It was terrible. He was thrown around. He was lost. He was missing protection. It was unwatchable. And then Dan Campbell. I'm sorry. I kept saying this in the other stream that I guess I was all by myself. Dan Campbell jackpotted us tonight. And what I mean by that is he gambled way too effing much. You know, there comes a time and a place when you gamble on things, and I'll be real about the fact that some of the stuff that he gambled with helped us, right? He read the room. He saw the weather. He understood the other team was having trouble too at the beginning of the game. The wind was a factor, so he used all of that to his advantage. I get that. But at the same time, when things were working, he then would go away from it. You know, it took a minute to get the run game going. Run game started to get going, and then you go away from it. Took a minute to get the pass game going. Pass game started to get going. Jahmyr Gibbs is going crazy, and then you go away from it. I was looking at a play that is posted on X by Detroit Times, and they're saying how Brock Wright was wide open on this play. And I'm looking at it, and I'm breaking it down, and I'm saying, you know, Brock Wright wasn't wide open. He wasn't. The reason why Brock Wright was never wide open is because Goff never got to that progression. He was the last read. And the protection broke down, and the four-man rush that the Eagles sent got to Goff. He had to get rid of the football. Goff couldn't have held the ball any longer. What Goff could have done is release the ball earlier and made Brock Wright maybe the second look, but he probably was the fourth look on that play, or even the fifth look on that play. Or maybe he's the comeback look on that play after Amon Ra, it bounces back to Brock Wright. But there wasn't enough time, and I'm talking about the 4th and goal at the 4-yard line. Third quarter, 5 minutes, 12 seconds left in the third quarter. That's what I'm talking about. So it wasn't all Goff. Goff didn't play well. Weather was a factor. It also was for Jalen Hurts. You look at the stats, and the stats tell you 14 of 37 for 255 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, and 2 sacks is pathetic with a 37% completion rate. But those stats by themselves would have been great. Jalen Hurts only threw for 135. No TDs, no interceptions, 1 sack. And no, tonight was not about pass rush. There is no pass rush that is gonna make this better. Why? Because we're talking 2 totally different systems, 2 totally different quarterbacks. Pocket passer, mobile pocket passer. dual threat mobile pocket passer. The Lions' containment defense was perfect tonight. Outside of a couple of times that Kelvin Shepherd got loose with it, got away from what was working, and that's when we got hurt. If you didn't notice, playing contain and collapsing the pocket naturally was everything that I put in the keys of the game. Matter of fact, it was put into how we could beat Philadelphia, the article tonight. They did exactly what I expected them to do. But what didn't work is when we went away from it. That's when Hurts had his, couple of runs. That is when Saquon Barkley had his bigger runs. You go back to what was working, we shut them down. The Lions defense did enough to win. They absolutely did enough to win tonight. They played a great game. Kelvin Shepherd, phenomenal job. That bullshit pass interference at the end of this game should have never been called. The refs won. I'm sick of the NFL. They should be ashamed of themselves. It's making the NFL unwatchable. It's finally getting to that point for me where it's making it unwatchable. Put all that aside. The way you keep the refs out of the game is you have to put points on the board. And Dan Campbell tonight, he jackpotted us tonight because he gambled too much. Then again, had he not gambled, had he not gone for it on all those fourth downs and lost, and had the defense not done what they have done, we lose this game by 30 points probably. Maybe we punt the ball. Maybe we kick a couple of field goals earlier. It's a different game. But Dan didn't do that. My biggest complaint tonight is that Dan Campbell, and again, I don't know what you heard in the other post game, is this. After the Minnesota game, Dan Campbell stood up there and said, probably should have done something different with the protections tonight. Matter of fact, the next day at the press conference, he said the same thing. That the protections, you should have done something different. And he said 7-man protection. I clipped it and I posted it, and I posted what I said because I said the same damn thing during the game and after the game and the next morning. And then he said it that mid-morning or afternoon, post-game, or the press conference on that Monday after or whatever it was. Dan, you didn't put any 7-man protections in tonight. You're getting your ass kicked. The offensive line is breaking down. And you didn't stop and think for one frickin' second that a 7-man protection would help you. You didn't need 5 weapons out there. No. You needed 3 on any given play. Jahmyr Gibbs was doing great in the pass game. Why didn't you just leave him out there in the slot? Amon-Ra couldn't do shit. So why didn't you just leave Jahmyr Gibbs out there with J-Mo? Let Amon-Ra be his decoy like I thought he was going to be tonight anyway. And work with it and put, Demo in the backfield. There you go. You don't need Sam Laporta anymore. You got Jahmyr Gibbs to pick up the slack. He didn't do it. You didn't bring in Skip. You didn't bring in Cologne. You didn't bring anybody as an extra offensive lineman to keep some of that pressure off. Now, the Eagles are naturally rushing their 4. I don't know how 4 was beating our 6. That makes 0 sense to me. That should never happen. So why did it happen? We had more communication issues, clearly. Clearly. Yeah, I'm not happy, but I'm not a crash out kind of guy. I'm going to give you the straight. I'm going to shoot you straight about this. And this is a game we should have won. This is a team we can beat. And no, the season is not over. Not even close. And no, it's not all Goff's fault. Matter of fact, go write the dude a love letter and thank him for all of the other, 50 wins or whatever that he's given us, and the playoff wins and everything else that he's done, and the records that he's smashed, over 50 of them or whatever it's been by now. Goff can have a bad game. The Lions can have a bad game. One game doesn't ever define a season or a team. And again, I'm going to repeat this. This was not about pass rush. There is no level of pass rush that makes this game outcome any different. Because why? The defense wasn't the problem. 16 points to the Eagles? I'll take that every time. Every time. This offense should be able to score no less than 25 points a game. So you're damn straight. Give me 16 points on the Eagles. I'd bet $1 million on it. If you were to tell me that the Eagles are only going to score 16, I would put $1 million on it every time that the Lions would win. What didn't win tonight was Dan Campbell. What didn't win tonight was not putting in a 7-man protection. That's what didn't win. Not going to blame the weather. Yeah, the refs and that BS call at the end should have happened. If anything, this should give you a little bit of hope that we go into a game that we're all banged up in. We don't have any of our starting, DBs out there besides Amik Robertson. And the DBs played fine. Yeah, Zach Bond kicked Gibbs in the back of the neck. He wasn't ejected. He wasn't fined. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, it's right here because I clipped it immediately and I put it out there. So please share this, watch it, and share it on Twitter. I'm extremely pissed off by what happened tonight, but I'm also even more so, I guess, elated at the fact that Calvin Shepard can call some defense. He just has to stick with what's working. And tonight he got away from it just a couple of times, and that's all it took. That's all it took. But again, this is not on him. Here's what it's on. I know I did this a minute ago. Again, I don't know if you were all in it, but here's the breakdown play by play. Just the scoring opportunities. The Lions get the ball and they throw a freaking interception to start. Right? That can't happen. But why did it happen? Well, it happened because the defensive line for the Eagles had 5 passes defense tonight. 5 batted passes, 10 defended passes overall for the Eagles tonight. 10. Can't happen. If you are an offensive line coach, if you are an offensive coordinator, you have to see after the first couple, we got a problem. They're either seeing something or our offensive line's breaking down or Jared Goff doesn't have good angles. And if he doesn't have good angles, he can't step up and make a throw, then we have to do something about that. Which is what? Pull Goff back a little bit further. Get him in a longer drop. Keep him in shotgun. Roll him out. Think 2.5 seconds. 1 patty cake, 2 out. Ball's gone. Pump it. Fake it. Do something other than continue to throw it to Jalen Carter. God, he could have had at least 2-3 interceptions tonight if he wanted to. So those are the mistakes that are correctable. Those are the mistakes that are adjustable in game. There's no reason why you can't adjust your throwing angle, where the quarterback is setting up to throw, and where the ball's going downfield. It's all about where the ball's going. If you're trying to hit these little screenshots that are inside the tackles, the ball's going to get knocked down. If you're trying to throw a sharp angle shot to the right and it's getting knocked down, it's because the angle's too sharp. So what does that mean? That means Jared Goff's got to back up and move right. That means that the ball needs to come, maybe towards the center of the offensive line a little bit more. Or maybe it needs to go to the left a little bit more. Whatever the case is, you can fix it. The biggest area of the biggest problem tonight was no adjustments for the offensive line. I can blame Goff for making some poor throws, or I should blame Dan Campbell for calling these same stupid plays or not putting in a 7-man protection that wasn't giving him enough time. We've watched Jared Goff dice up defenses with no time. Jared Goff is one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz. And he was the best quarterback against the blitz before this game. Probably still is. It's just when that blitz turns to pressure, every quarterback has trouble. And in a night like tonight where you have the elements, right? It's a night game. You have the elements. And for whatever reason, our receivers dropped, I don't know how many balls. Low passes. Yep, not your best ball tonight, Goff. That same pass on a warm day, that ball will stick to those hands. Those gloves are a little sticky. So when it is warm out, if you throw a low ball and it hits the mitts, it will stick a little bit. Enough to where they pop it up to themselves. Right? Or they're falling down on it. Tonight, when they're dragging across the middle and that ball's coming at their shins, it's just going to bounce right off. So that means you got to get it up towards their waist a little bit. Still not an area where somebody else can make a play on the ball. But again, these are all the things that I'm seeing. Oh, I'm sure your other channels are just complaining about pass rush or something stupid that doesn't have any bearing on the game whatsoever. But these are the things that I'm seeing that needed to be adjusted. These are the things that shouldn't have happened. But I'm going to blame Jameson Williams and I'm going to blame Amon-Ra St. Brown just as many times for dropping a ball as I am for Jared Goff to throwing the ball to the defense and having to get knocked down. Because that's a 1-for-1. They are equally responsible. So as much hate you want to put on Jared Goff for tonight, you need to put it on the other guys. All right? Jameson Williams, you cannot be getting a 15-yard penalty for a celebration. The rule is very clear. You can't touch the goalpost, man. You can't touch the foam. You can't use any of it in a celebration. I don't care what the excuse is. You can't do it. Now, does it make it right? No. Is it a stupid penalty? Yes. But is it a rule? It is. And so if it's a rule, it does not matter if you agree or disagree with it. You don't effing do it. You just don't. And that is something that this society is so effed up with right now. It's like we have a constitution, we have laws, we have, civil laws, we have all these things. And people are like, I don't agree with that thing. So like, I'm just going to, I'm going to turn a blind eye to it because I don't think it should be a law, but it's a law, right? Or it's in the Bill of Rights or it's in the Constitution. It's like, yeah, but, and you just don't care. It's still a law. It's like, okay, you live out in the middle of nowhere and the speed limit says 55, but my car can do 100 and there's nobody around. So who cares about the sign? But the cop that's sitting up the road is going to say, well, there was a sign back there, right? Said it was 55. Getting a ticket. Sorry. That's called reality. And the reality of the situation tonight is Dan Campbell jackpotted us by being too stubborn. And yes, I think he did a good job in certain areas. I think Calvin Shepard outcoached him. I think that Dan Campbell needed a better plan. And I think that Dan Campbell just wasted a huge opportunity by beating the Eagles team, which is completely beatable. We shut them down on their stupid tush push multiple times. We caused false start penalties. Tyreek Williams played a hell of a game. Great game by that dude. And so did some other guys. but there's enough blame to go around. Every single one of those guys wants a play back. And a Dan Campbell probably wants 5 or 6 plays back. I don't want to hear Dan Campbell make one excuse, and he won't. But if you're going to go blame Johnny Moe or anybody else for not putting in protections, then 2 weeks later you do the same damn thing. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't, because you weren't even getting those guys involved anyway. The last thing I'm going to say, I'll open up calls for a few minutes and then I'm going to get out of here soon. But Amon-Ra St. Brown tonight. You know, there's a couple of games this year that we watched Jamison Williams just kind of lollygag around, jog into it, wasn't giving his all. And I get it. You know, he wasn't involved in the game plan a whole lot, wasn't getting a lot of balls thrown his way, wasn't active in the game plan. And he probably just a couple of plays, just, you know, whatever. Well, those are the plays that I saw more often than not, and others. And you could tell that his spirit wasn't into it. Amon-Ra had that same spirit tonight. He was just kind of out there. Wasn't doing a whole lot. Wasn't really into it. I'm not saying on every play. And no, I'm never going to say that Amon-Ra is a problem. I'm not saying that. But there's a few plays that he didn't look like he gave a shit. And that I've seen it a couple of times this year, and that worries me more than anything. He can't play that way. Now, he was clearly a decoy tonight, a lot. But then Jared Goff went to him way too many times. He wasn't catching the ball. He wasn't getting open. Why did we continue to go to him? What happened to Khalif Raymond? Why wasn't he utilized more in tonight's game? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. But man, there's a lot to take away from this game. Let me get into some of the chat here. So Maureen's first question: anyone mentioned Jared Goff wearing gloves? Could that have been part of his problem? So Jared wears gloves when it's cold or wet. It could be, but he's thrown the ball just fine with gloves. Just fine. Matter of fact, he might have thrown some of his best games when he's worn gloves. Go back to 2022, Week 18, Green Bay. Pretty good game. Snowy. Really, really snowy. Cold. Slushy. Green Bay again. Last year. Monsoon. Jared Goff wore gloves that game, I believe, as well. Good game. Plenty of games he's worn gloves. I'll just leave it at that. So no, I would say that that's not the answer. I would say that the answer, Maureen, would be lack of protection, no time, poor angles, bad routes. Matter of fact, speaking of Amon-Ra St. Brown, the choice route that he had, vertical route, out route, he was going out, Goff was going vertical, and total miscommunication between the two. But he's just kind of just jogging, you know, the Amon-Ra jog, and kind of looks back, but really doesn't look back. No effort. I don't know, man. These guys did not play well tonight. A lot of them didn't. And I don't get it. This one stings because the Eagles are beatable. They're not this untouchable team. They're not. And Jalen Hurts was playing like shit. The dude couldn't hit a broadside of a barn tonight. You know, he connected on a few passes, but largely he sprayed the ball everywhere too. 50% completion rate. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe Tesla could have caught a pass, but we have to remember too that Tesla has a core muscle injury too. So he's probably out there purely as necessity to give somebody a break, a breather, decoy, maybe a possibility. I when I get into the film, I know I'm going to find 4, 5, 6 plays where Jared Goff really screwed up. But until we know, which we never will, the actual design of the play, who was, which option on the route, we'll never truly know. We'll never truly know what they should have been doing on any given play. Is Dan Campbell's post game up? I don't even know if I really want to watch it right now. I'm actually exhausted. I got to get up super early for the morning show. Really disappointing. So, if anyone, I'll take a couple of quick calls, but that's really about it. Phone line's open. I'll take a couple of quick ones. Otherwise, I'm going to digest or get into all this tomorrow. The thing that I do want to pay great attention to, in this game is Calvin Shepard. Like, I think that's the one thing that I'm going to take away. Saquon Barkley, I think one of my bold takes on Friday was that Saquon Barkley was going to be held under 80 yards and that he was going to have 2 fumbles. He did have a fumble. It wasn't lost. And he had 83 yards. So I'm good with that. He had no TDs. I mean, they put up 148 on the ground on us. That shouldn't have happened. But Jalen Hurts only had 31. That shouldn't have happened either. But it did when we got lazy. Jahmyr Gibbs started to have a couple of nice runs, and then you get away from it. Can't happen. Jahmyr Gibbs, highlight of the night, 5 receptions, 107 yards through the air. Jamison Williams, 4 receptions, 88 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, only 2 for 42. Targeted 12 times, 2 freaking catches. Why were we going after the guy so much if he wasn't catching the ball? Doesn't make any sense. Jack Campbell, I said, was going to have to be the guy tonight. And he was. 15 tackles, 1 TFL. Huge night for him. Just it all gets thrown away in the end when you don't come down with a win. Amik Robertson, again, I said he was going to need to have a good game. And he did. 1 TFL, 2 passes defensed. He didn't let up squat tonight. As a team, we had 3 passes defensed and 4 TFLs and 1 sack. Those are the kinds of numbers that I expected from a defense that was supposed to be spying and containing. And very early, you saw the contain and the spy game work, and it worked to perfection. I want to say it was it the end of the second? Might have been end of the second. Yeah, end of the second. We went away from the contained game a little bit. And that's where things kind of spun out of control for us a little bit. Tank Bixby had a ripped off a big run. And then before that, Saquon Barkley had a fumble. I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts had a fumble. I guess they gave it to him. And then Saquon Barkley recovered it. I thought that was handed off to Barkley, and then Barkley fumbled it. But either way, they recovered their own fumble. But it was right around that same time, I think they scored a touchdown. Yeah, they scored a touchdown, 10 plays, 64 yards, 4:49 in the second. You go back and look at that series, and that is the series where we got away from what was working the entire game. And I don't know why at that point you're going to do something different. The other thing that bothers me about this game is, they finally called, some holding calls against the Eagles. But my God, the holding calls against our guys that don't get called, it is just, it's egregious at this point. but you have to call it both ways. If you're going to do it like that, you're going to let them get away with it. You have to let it go both ways. So that means our guys just need to start mugging dudes, because that's what they're doing. We're getting mugged. We're getting, an arm bar across the chest, and it's not getting called. So if we do it, it'll get called. If they do it, it doesn't get called. I don't know. I think Sam Laporta would have been a big part of this game too, Brandon. I do. I think that we were missing him big time. This year's offense, I don't think that's an issue. SW Lion, I think this year's offense is just as good. I think the difference is the play calling and the way that this team started the first half of the season. First half's over. Got to throw it away now. But they better fix it going forward. You have to put guys in the right position to win, and they didn't do that tonight. Tate Ratledge, my God, he was on his ass so many times. Something's going on with him. I don't know if he's injured or what. I know he did get injured a minute tonight, but I don't know how bad it is. Get these ads off. Jesus, they're just going crazy. We definitely have some offensive line issues. We've had them all year. And, I guess to Brad's point, I don't really know who would have been available. I mean, nobody was really available, and nobody was going to give up any of their offensive linemen. It's just one of those positions that it's really hard to do something with. And so if it's me and if it's Brad, I'm expecting what I've always expected. Next year was going to be another year to invest in the offensive line. Left tackle for sure. For sure. And another guard or a center, actually. Guard center. You need someone that can play both positions, but we need a dedicated center that's going to come in. And then we're starting with rookies. You're gonna have a rookie as a center. You're gonna have a second year as a guard. You're gonna have a third year as a guard on the other side when Mahogany gets back. And then you have Manu. I don't know when Manu's going to be ready, but hopefully he does get ready and is able to come back this season. And if he can, you might have to insert him at guard a little bit. But the Lions need to do something, man, because this offense is way too good, way too powerful. You can't let us be sitting ducks like this. You can't. And if they're not going to fix it, then you got to get rid of Goff next year, because $70 million for Jared Goff is way too much money to let him sit back there and get pounded like he did tonight. I put this on Dan Campbell tonight. Calvin Shepard coached his ass off. And Dave Phipp, the last thing I'll say, Dave Phipp, what is going on with our special teams? It was a little bit better tonight, but something's up with our special teams too. And I don't know if we're just missing a couple of guys that we really need, or if we're something's just off. Something's off with the whole team. But I still have confidence. The Lions are still going to win plenty of games. They're still going to be in the postseason. They still have a shot to win a Super Bowl. If you want to, go back and look at one sec here. If you want to go back and look at previous Super Bowl winners, to even say that they had 11 wins in the regular season. Right now, the Lions have 4 losses. Okay, so the best that they can finish is 13-4. Right, that's it. 13-4. That's the best they can finish. Well, let's say they finish 11-6. The 2021 Los Angeles Rams won the Super Bowl as 11-5. The Baltimore Ravens won it in 2012 11-5. The New York Giants won it 9-7 in 2011. And the 2010 Green Bay Packers did it at 10-6. So to say that we can't win a Super Bowl or that we can't still get into the postseason, yada, 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 is BS. Season's far from over. So don't even go there. Oh, here's the post-game show. Man, this one just has a special kind of a sting to it.
Curado Insurance.
Looks like this post-game show's been on for a hot minute. All right, I'll bring it in. Why not? What would a post-game show be without it, huh? Whoops. That wasn't supposed to happen. Man, it's all jacked up. Whoops. I jacked it all up. My bad. And I got to get my assets going again. Like all of my graphics. Ever since I had to dump the computer and redo everything when all those updates happened, like, I don't know, gosh, that was like 6-8 weeks ago now. I still don't have all my assets back.
Was in this game tonight.
Saquon Barkley needed 26 catches to get to 83 rushing yards on the day. So you're right. They did really bottle him up there. Head coach Dan Campbell is standing by. Let's hear what he has to say.
All right. Credit to those guys over there. You know, they earned that win. You know, they made they made the plays in the critical moments. You know, they're at the end to win it. So that's what they've done. You know, I was proud of the way the guys played. I thought they played their tails off, played hard, man. I thought we finished plays, tried to finish plays. I thought we were disciplined for the most part. But just, you know, defense, I thought really played their tails off, you know. I thought they showed up, played championship-style defense. That, you know, they had to put out a number of fires there between the takeaways and the fourth down stops. But like I told them, man, but it's also you got the hot hand. And you gotta beat them back one more time. You know, and then offensively, you know, 3 of 13, 0 on third down and 0 of 5 on fourth down. You know, we could not convert. You know, and when you can't convert, that makes it very difficult. You know, felt like we were getting a rhythm after that. Second quarter, we started, you know, we hit those explosives, went down, J-Mo scores, touchdown, you know, and it felt like, all right, here we go. But just couldn't ever really get in a rhythm offensively. You know, there's some calls I wish I could have gotten back. You know, I didn't help those guys, and I hate that. You know, I didn't help them. So, but that was kind of the story of the game.
Was it a common theme on third and fourth down, Dan, or was it multiple things? What do you think was maybe the disconnect there?
Yeah, just
Philly was doing, or
no, they really didn't do. They really didn't do anything different. I mean, he, you know, like Fangio does, you know, he mixed his calls, and he's got a few that he rolls through, and he does a good job of variety there, but yet. You know, I wouldn't say it was anything like exotic or anything we haven't seen or talked about. We were just a little off. I mean, it really was kind of one of those days. I hate saying that, but it was just a little bit of one of those days. And I mean, it's a that, Golf and St. Brown don't connect more than that. That's just a rare thing because those guys have such a good connection. But, there again, man, we're all involved in this. We all got a hand in it. From me, the coaches, all of us, man, everybody that's part of this offense, we got to be better, especially in a day like today when you're playing that kind of defense, that kind of team. The margin for error is so small, man. You don't have the luxury of, like, we get in the red zone, we have to score a touchdown, man. We can't come away not scoring 7 there. We have to convert at least 2 or 3 of those fourth downs. You have to, and we were a little off. We just couldn't get our rhythm there.
And was under obviously constant pressure. And
say it again.
Golf was under constant pressure, and it looked like that wrecked anything you guys tried to do. Is there anything you could have done to alleviate? Because it looked like you couldn't even move at all in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, once we got down there, a couple of scores, that makes it a little more difficult. But certainly try to max protect a little bit more. That can help. Now you don't get as many guys out, but that's one way to do it. We just, there again, we just couldn't get going.
What'd you think of the Rock pass?
Yeah, well, I thought he played defense like he did the whole game, man. I thought he challenged, and played it like he did the very first rep. That we played man-to-man, so I wouldn't tell him to do anything different, man. Get up there and challenge, play your style, and that's it.
You talked about how pivotal this November stretch would be. Obviously, the guys entered this game with just high expectations. How did you keep your confidence high going forward and not allow this game to be too much for them?
Yeah, well, look, there again, we know the type of team we just faced, a good team, man, and we had our chances, we didn't get it done. They made the most of the opportunity, we didn't, but we're right there, and we understand what it is, and we understand we make 1 or 2 more plays in certain areas, then you got the legit shot to win that game at the end. So it is. As bad as it stings, as bad as it is, we're so freaking close, and I mentioned this before, you just kind of hit some of these patches here. We're middle way through the season. We're in November, and I believe this is the best thing for us. You don't want to say that, and it doesn't feel good, but yet, man, we're going to learn from this. We're going to get better. We're going to adjust, and we'll be hitting our stride when other teams start to hit their adversity towards the back end of the season. I really believe that. So, we're going to learn from this game, and we're going to get better.
We've seen you dial at the fake punts a little bit over the years. What made you want to try it tonight? What kind of look did you think you had?
Yeah, I just believe that we were going to, I thought we could get those guys off balance. And obviously that didn't happen. It felt like the look was there to move them, and they did a good job. They were ready.
How much did the elements play back apart in some of those offensive struggles?
Man, I didn't feel like, look, we had a little bit of wind, but I really didn't feel like that was, it was something abnormal. Like that we were in frigid temperatures, so I really didn't believe that was it. I don't feel that way. It just,
Didn't impact your play calling?
No. There was a couple of things early in the game that I wanted to be smart with because, look, there was a little bit of wind. But once we got going, I wasn't even thinking about the wind. I felt like, that wasn't going to be an issue.
And can you chalk up some of what happened tonight to the Eagles having a great defense and the world champs, but look at and wonder and be concerned about how the offensive line in your offense was overwhelmed a little bit?
Yeah, well, look, that is a good defense. We know that. But, there's things that, just like every game, that is a very good defense. But yet, man, we can play better. We can play better. I can call a better game. And there again, in this type of game, knowing what it is, man, we're talking about 1, 2, maybe 3 plays is the difference. And we're sitting up here and we just won the game, and it's like, whoa, man, that was a hell of a win. You guys stuck it out, but we just didn't make those plays. And so, I really believe that's not going to be the norm. What happened today, I don't believe that's the norm. We could not quite convert. We were a little bit off, and I don't believe that's going to be here to stay. We're going to clean up a few things. We're going to find our rhythm, and we're all going to be better for it.
What do you tell Jameson about the penalty to jump on the ball?
Yeah, I told him it's a hell of a play. Don't do that again.
Before the half, they got inside the 5 there. You had all 3 timeouts.
Right before halftime?
Right before halftime.
Yeah, I thought about it. It was like, man, maybe I'll just go ahead and bang that right now. But I knew we were getting it after halftime. And really what I did, I just kind of waited. I was going to wait until we hit about under a minute. And then at that point, I just kind of let it go. Like, all right, we'll get it back. So, absolutely, I talked about it, thought about it. And I chose not to there. I chose not to. I said, we'll take it in the third quarter. We come out of halftime. And so, yeah, I did think about it.
With all the teams kind of bunched together right now, especially in your division, how do you view the final portion of the season for you guys in terms of the playoff push and what needs to be done to kind of get that run going?
Yeah, look, you take it one game at a time. You really do. We got the Giants this week, so we got to rebound. Clean a couple of things up, go back to work, and get a dub, and I mentioned this before, but everybody's playing everybody now. This is what's going to happen over the next couple of months here is all these teams we're bunched in with begin to play each other, division games, NFC games, and so that'll all handle itself. You just worry about your own business. We're going to worry about us one game at a time.
2 things. Last week, Dave, the tush push, you guys shut that down. Just, I guess, explain the strategy.
Yeah, we got guys that play with leverage. They're strong, they're stout. Reeder and Lopez and Mack, and we got some tree trunks in there, man. They know how to grow roots and anchor in there, and that's where it always is going to start. So I thought the guys handled it well, did a great job, and it paid dividends today. It gave us a chance.
And Sam, you guys put Sam on IR.
Yeah.
How concerning is that? What's the long-term prognosis?
Well, obviously enough to where we we're talking about 4 weeks here. So obviously we're going to hope that this thing calms down, and after those 4 games, we can get him back. But we're really just taking this day to day, week to week. I'm hopeful, but I really don't know.
Last question.
Dan, you said you wanted some calls back. What about some decisions?
Yeah.
Such a tight game.
Yeah, no, listen, and I told the team that. I was like, man, there's some things I wish I would have done different. And look, the bottom line is you obviously, if you go totally conservative, you got to, in the way this game played out, and the way it was, you got a better chance of winning that game than some of those decisions I made. I understand that. But also, that's who we are. It's who I am, and it bit us today,
All right. Thank you guys. We'll have Jared here next.
Yeah.
Guys.
All right, so real quick, I'll get into more of this tomorrow. You heard Dan at the very end there. That's who he is. He's aggressive. He feels that some of the calls, maybe they go the other way, they win the game. He also feels that it bit him. Some of his calls bit him today because of the way that he was so aggressive. So he said it himself. I don't need to sell you on it. But anyway, that's it for tonight, man. I'm gonna hop out of here. I'm gonna get back at this in the morning. Haven't spoken to Eric really all night, so I have no idea what he's thinking, but I'm sure he's not happy. I'm sure he has plenty to say. We'll see what 8 a.m. holds. We'll see you guys back here in the morning for the Rise and Grind morning show. Okay. Tough loss. It's a loss we didn't expect. It's a loss we shouldn't have had. And Dan, he can't do this shit again. He really can't. He has to coach to win. You just can't coach to coach because it's your MO. You have to coach to win. I don't want to see the Dan Campbell of 21 and 22 scraping just to get a win, because that's what he was doing. He was doing anything to get a win. 23 bit us because he was too aggressive. 24 bit us because we were too injured. 25 cannot be a combination of both of those. Otherwise, it's going to bite us again. He has to coach to win. It's a famous quote. You play to win the game. You play to win. You don't play or coach just because that's how you do it. So, anyway, sorry I'm not full of life tonight, but it's been a long day. It's been a long weekend. I'm sick as a dog, so I'm surprised I lasted this long. You guys take care. Go on, probably go Detroit Lions, man. We'll get them next time. We got a win coming up here in a week that we're going to have to snatch, and we got to keep it rolling. Lions have 4 losses on the season. Can't really afford any more. Not if we want to position ourselves to have a better seed. So you got to get it done. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Go on, probably go Detroit Lions. Adios.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down.